Hey, it's Tuesday, and we're back for another week of Rumor and Innuendo after Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully, you guys had a great Memorial Day weekend. Thanks, everyone, for their service, and I am happy to be here today. I'm Dominic D'Angelo, by the way, but I'm happy to be here today with Robert Karplus, WE Creative _ish. Robert, what a week, and we got to talk about.
Dude, we don't have time. We don't have time for pleasantries. We don't have time to greet anybody. We need to get right down to it. We had WWE King and Queen of the Ring. We had AEW Double or Nothing. We had Monday Night Raw. There's Warner Discovery news. There's Becky Lynch contract news. There's Billy and the CW news. We are packed to the gills, Dom. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Let's start off with AEW Double or Nothing, as a matter of fact. We're going to kick it off with that way. Yeah, and
I didn't read the rundown. I thought we were starting with I'm a chronology guy, but no, let's start with the 45 matches of AEW Double or Nothing.
Yes, let's go into that. We don't have to cover them all, but
no.
Every single one you want, Robert?
Every gosh darn one of them. Tony took the time to almost book this pay-per-view.
Almost.
Yeah.
Well, let's start
with King and Queen of the Ring, because that's 5 matches. That's quick. That's easy.
I was going to segue that into Raw, but that's fine. Let's do that.
We're going to get back to it, Tom. It's a circle.
Okay.
It's a circle.
All right, then.
I'm doing the circle. It just looks weird when I do it on the screen. I'm entertaining myself here. That's really all this is at this point.
Well, let's just start off with that.
Which is what Tony does with Dynamite.
Overall, what did you think of this show?
King and Queen of the Ring, I thought, was a very easy watch. It was under 3 hours. Watching it live, I didn't feel that the breaks were as intrusive as they have been otherwise. I like that you get your 5 matches, you get a little bit of a chance to breathe. Everything there made sense. Everything there set up what we now see going forward for the show. I'm okay with there not being any, breathtaking surprises, especially because, as we talked about, it's an excited audience. It was a rabid audience, I think Sports Illustrated said, but they're not as plugged in. They're not as hip to what's going on. So if you just give them a straightforward show, they're going to respond and they're going to be happy. And that crowd was another really enthusiastic PLE audience.
I was pleasantly surprised by that. How, typically when you think of a Saudi show, it seems like they're like half checked in and half are just there to keep up appearances, so to speak, in the crowd. But this crowd was really, really into it. And it did add another element to the show that I thought typically for a Saudi show is not typically there. So I think what you just said too, I think everything that we saw unfold on King and Queen of the Ring kind of transferred over into Raw in a lot of ways and made a lot of sense after the fact. Even the little mishap that they had with Randy Orton and Gunther at the end of that match.
So yes, that's a good place to start. So I think one of the things that sort of marred the evening was the finish of the Gunther Randy Orton match, where Orton's shoulder was clearly up. This was an actual error. I don't think this was a storyline. I don't think this was intended. Hunter, during the post-show press conference, said referee decision is final. It was a particularly egregious error for any official to have. And this is not really a revolutionary peek behind the curtain here, but a lot of the officials are always told, in any meetings I've always been in, you treat it like it's a sport. Mm-hmm. It is up to the talent to get their shoulders up. It's up to the talent to make sure that they kick out. You as the official need to maintain the integrity of the match. And whatever happens on TV was meant to happen.
Right.
So Gunther obviously was going to be King of the Ring. The shoulder up piece was unfortunate. The idea that you're trying to make it seem a little bit like Gunther's win was tainted. They covered it on Raw nicely, but yeah, it's sort of unfortunate. On the women's side, I am willing to say that this was probably the best Nia Jax match I've ever seen.
It was good. Mm-hmm.
I think Lyra knew how to work properly with her. I think we got a very strong back and forth with the two of them. And at the end of the day, I think that Nia winning as decisively as she did just sort of highlights the physics of it. She is double the size of Lyra, And when that comes crashing down on you, no matter who you are, that's going to beat you.
Yeah, I thought to speak to both of those matches. I think this was Nia's best match too. I love the story that they told in regards to like, Lyra struggling against this bigger opponent and it just ending like that. Boom, that's it. But then in turn with the Orton and Gunther match, unfortunate that kind of outcome went down. And I even watched back the replay and I was texting the working stiff guys. I legit thought at first, I was like, that was intentional. Because it almost looked like Randy like intentionally got his shoulder up in that pinning attempt. But then they didn't address it. The announcers didn't address it afterwards until quite a little bit after the fact. And so I was like, well, no, that must have just been a big mistake. And so, but
yeah, if it was part of the story, they would have addressed it. Yeah,
right
they would have thrown something out there almost immediately and been like, "Hey, this is being under investigation. What was the referee thinking?" Da 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 da. But the fact that we just moved on,
I think it's kind of it's okay. I think ultimately in the grand scheme of it all, because we were talking about before in the week leading up to this that Gunther and Randy Orton seems like a big time match that you wouldn't want to really give away to a Saudi show. Now the crowd was very receptive of it, but you can have another match and it make it also mean something a lot more too later on down the line. Make it mean again something more. So I liked both of these ones so far, Robert. What'd you think of the opener with Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan and that all the execution of that with Dominic getting involved?
So again, it's tough because now we're talking about it after Raw, so hindsight becomes very much 2020. I thought the match was good. It was not a spectacular, you got to go out of your way to see this, it's going to totally change your life, but I thought it was a very strong back and forth match. The finish with Dom set up what I would have predicted we would have seen on Raw, and I thought potentially we were going to see Liv win the title or lose the match in Saudi, win the title on Raw with the help of the Wyatts. But it looks like instead they're going to use her as a catalyst to split up Judgment Day. And all of this, again, is happening because they're dealing with a tremendous amount of injuries for very essential players. Rhea Ripley being on the shelf was not something they expected after WrestleMania. Dominic Mysterio being on the shelf was not something that they expected. They did not think that they were going to need Becky Lynch. Her contract is coming up the end of this month. There's a lot of what I would call rampant speculation, and we can address it very briefly here because I know it's on your run sheet. We're not going to get to it later. Becky loses at the PLE, loses the title, then loses in the cage match in the cleanest way you can lose in a cage match because there's no disqualification. It's a good cop out. Was there a lot of interference? Sure. There are a lot of excuses for her to absolutely, but at the end of the day, Liv Morgan beat her back to back. So Becky was planning on taking time off after Mania. She talked about wanting to go on vacation. She wants to go spend time with her family. Her husband is obviously injured. So there was no immediate rush to necessarily sign her contract. Given that AEW is paying an inordinate amount of money for Mercedes Moné, you have the conversation.
Yes.
You owe it to yourself to at least hear them out. I do not think she is going to sign with AEW. I think WWE sees the value in Becky, and they are going to back the Brinks truck up, and they're going to pay a lot of money to lock down Becky Lynch. I don't think Becky would be particularly happy in AEW, if I'm being completely honest here. I don't see Seth going over there. Seth's locked down to a WWE contract. She's going to want to be in the same company as her husband. The travel logistics alone, they want to be able to see one another. It's one of those weird marriages, Dom, where people are happy.
Oh,
and wife and husband want to see one another.
That doesn't usually happen in pro wrestling, Robert.
No, it doesn't. There's a number. That's kind of a running joke for a while that there's a number of people who are like, I book me as often as you want. I don't want to be home.
Yeah,
that's not them. And if one's working Dynamite and one's working Raw, and then Seth's on the road Monday into Tuesday, and he's touring over the weekend, and then she's leaving Tuesday into Wednesday, it only gives them like one day together. And I don't think they're willing to give up that sort of quality of life unless Tony is willing to spend like he's never spent before. And he might not have the means to do that given the Warner Discovery deal.
Right. There's a lot of plates spinning right now. I think Becky. Now, according to Wade Keller, they of PW Torch, it was added that she does not expect to sign with AEW imminently. So it's kind of
She's not going to sign anywhere imminently. She's going to sit at home.
Take a hiatus.
She's going to sit at home, take a hiatus, enjoy time with her family, map out her next decision from there.
Right.
She wrote her book. It's a New York Times. It's not on the shelf behind me, but it is a New York Times bestseller. I have not gotten the Becky Lynch book yet.
I have not either.
I'm sure it'll be really interesting to see. She has a lot of friends there, a lot of colleagues there. It's an opportunity where she has made herself a global star. It's very tough to say you want to walk away from that.
Right.
And given what AEW can offer monetarily versus what AEW can give her in terms of quality of show, you really got to think, long and hard about what decision you're going to make.
I think too, there is that added aspect that the schedule is later in AEW. So, and Becky loves being a mom, and that opens the door for her to spend time with her child a little bit more too.
It does, but keep in mind, if she wants to work a lighter house show schedule in her new, she can absolutely negotiate for that. She can be a Roman Reigns style person. There's plenty of women on the roster who can fill out your live event card. And with Liv Morgan sitting at the top, and they build a women's roster with her and Lyra and a number of the other, Shayna and Zoe and whoever else is there, you'll be able to do your live event shows and not necessarily feel the sting of not having Becky at every single one of them. Once Seth is back on the road, if the two of them together choose to travel, they'll work all that out. I think the idea of you need to make it look like you're willing to entertain both companies in order to get more money, that was an old Chris Jericho play. I mean, there's tons of examples, but the Jericho one sticks out. I remember when Jericho, his WWE contract first was up, he posted on his website, this is going back 15 years ago, a picture of him doing the Jericho pose with the TNA logo behind him, teasing that he was going to go to the competition. And obviously he didn't. He came back in 2007. But it's just funny to see, the cycles, they all understand it. They all understand the pathway. The other two matches for King and Queen of the Ring, just for the sake of time, there was an Continental title triple threat match. Crowd loved Sammy. It was fine. It wasn't going to set the world on fire. It was very good. It told the story. You furthered the Otis thing, and you didn't give it away. I'm happy about. And then Logan Paul, as always, over-delivers in a match with Cody.
Yeah. It's just amazing. I super impressed with Logan Paul. Not just the athleticism, but how he carries himself in the ring as a chicken shit heel. I think it's great. And he, like him being in the figure four and whining about his leg going to get broken. I just loved it. Just loved it. And yes, I can see him undoubtedly, I would say, not undoubtedly, but pretty darn close to being a world champion in WWE. And that they wouldn't miss a beat with that.
They could if he committed himself full time. Sure. I think the one slight hesitation, the one beat that I had in this that made me a little, I don't know, was in terms of Cody's long-term viability as a babyface, because he constantly needs to wrestle as if he is the underdog, that he's fighting from underneath. And when you see him selling for Logan, knowing how much more experienced Cody is than Logan, it does strain credibility a little bit. And there were certain parts of the match where it dipped, and I started to see where I could view where an audience is like, all right, we're not really going to buy this. But then they turned it around right around the table spot and the prime guy getting involved.
Yeah.
And then they just, the last 10 minutes or so, absolutely cooked.
Yeah. It was a fun match. It was, I liked, overall, I thought the show was good. I'd probably give it like a B+.
Whoa. We respect and honor the working stiff Scotty Meltzer flaming bowling pin.
Oh, okay. So
I'll be throwing your stars out here. That doesn't mean anything.
Are they 5 in the bowling pins?
5. It's 1 to 5 Scotty Meltzer flaming bowling pins.
Okay.
Those of you who aren't aware, new to the show, haven't caught Working Stiff, not a Patreon member there. She's described as a Patreon member there. Dave Meltzer's brother, Scotty Meltzer, is a professional comedy magician and juggler for corporate events. And we utilize his flaming bowling pin scale whenever rating a professional wrestling program.
All right. Well, I guess I'll give it 4 then. 4 flaming bowling pins.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with 4 flaming bowling pins. Very solid show. Well worth going out of your way. It absolutely delivered. And guys, if you're looking to absolutely deliver, can we recommend our friends at Blue Chew? This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Visit BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. See what I did there? Process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. But there's nothing discreet about your package. You can have your own flaming Scotty Meltzer bowling pin ready to go to knock your gal over, because Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free and use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this packed edition of Rumor and Innuendo.
It is packed, Robert, so let's get right back into it. AEW Double or Nothing took place on Sunday. And
there's where you add the extra W. Don't ever say WWE, but in AEW, it's AEW.
Double or Nothing took place. Las Vegas. How many matches? It was like 10, 12, something. A lot.
There was a lot. There was in the working stiff group chat. The best summation I can give is that the show felt like a Stefan sketch from Saturday Night Live. Remember those Stefan sketches that John Mulaney wrote? Because I wrote, like, guys, this show had everything: devil masks, vampires, school bus crashes, a man-child on fire, a hanging Tony Khan rolling like a child at Gymboree. Two turns on this show.
Yeah.
Two. This is, I hit the microphone. I'm so angry. This is on a high level. When you're writing television, which is weekly and episodic, you want stuff to happen every episode. You don't need everything in the history of time and space to happen on one show. And I get that the whole thing with AEW is like they always over-deliver on pay-per-view. Yeah, because they don't deliver on TV.
They don't.
They gave you so much in how long was it? It was like 5 hours, this show.
It was long.
I watched it Monday morning, Memorial Day. It took forever to watch. And some of you are going to say, look, you got your money's worth. You paid your $50. You got every penny worth out of that broadcast if this was your particular cup of tea. I think a couple things worked really well. I think a couple things did not work as well. There were a couple of things that I personally felt were disasters, but that's me. So we can just kind of go rapid fire succession, starting with the first match and just kind of go from. We can skip the pre-show matches. All due respect to Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, that's fine. So we did kick off with Will Ospreay taking on Roderick Strong. And Will Ospreay is your new international championship. Robert, you talked about him hoping that he would just go right into winning the world title at some point instead of winning any other title. This is not the case. He is now your international champion. What'd you think of this opening match?
The match itself was very good, except for you had to overbook it a lot. You had to use the Kingdom. You had to use Wardlow. But Ospreay sort of transcends every bad impulse that Tony Khan seems to have.
Right.
And him and Roddy delivered a very good match. I think it was a very strong back and forth match. You got your finish. You got your eruption of, hey, here's Ospreay holding a title. I would have preferred to have saved that for a bigger event, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it. It was a good opener. This was only one of the few matches I actually ended up seeing because I mostly tuned in for MJF and I tuned in for the other. What's the other?
Do we have to talk about the MJF stuff?
We do.
But
we do.
But this is my friend.
We do.
All right.
Let's talk about it, Robert. What's your thoughts on there? I said in the group text that I liked it. I just think he felt like a big deal. I didn't really pay too much attention to what he was wearing. The tattoo was one thing. Didn't really bug me. I thought it was a good promo, return promo.
All right. I'm going to try.
Okay.
Adam Cole comes out to cut his promo after the Roderick Strong match.
Yes.
The group that he is the leader of that lost.
Yeah.
That the three guys couldn't overcome. And then Cole comes out on his own. They're trying very, very hard to put this devil thing in the past. And it's him saying, like, look, I'm a really good wrestler. Let's move past all this and focus on me. And then MJF comes out. He's wearing the Triple H denim leather. Yes, obviously he's wearing that. Like, I get it. We're winking, we're nodding, whatever. Looks great. Tan's a little suspect, which nothing will piss Max off more than that. No matter what I say from anything forward,
the worst.
The message I will get of, bro, why you got to talk about my tan?
Why you hit my tan?
Why you hit my tan? Huge pop.
Mm-hmm.
Why this was not a huge pop moment saved for a Dynamite, I don't know. I get they like to have the big surprise. You could have had the big surprise moment of the video.
Yes. Yeah.
And then tease that you're going to hear from MJF on Dynamite and then watch the ratings pop.
Right.
Because then it's like, oh my God, MJF's going to be back. What's he going to say? He comes out, wipes out Adam Cole in a way that you really only do to a guy who is leaving your company. It felt like, this is for the old school fans, when Bulldog and Neidhart were leaving.
Uh-huh.
And they teased that they were joining DX. And then you had Hunter, they nut shot them and then throw them out. Like, that was what this felt like. This was like scorched earth. We're done with the devil story. We're not paying it off. Let's move on. And then it was the manifesto of, I'm here. I'm running this company going forward. I'm your guy. I'm your number one. Except the biggest story you have in your company right now is the EVPs beat up Tony Khan and are trying to run things. And Max acknowledges none of it. He's talking about New Japan. He's talking about Vince, that he's self-made. I get it. But and I keep having to compare it to the NWO storyline because it was at the beginning the most effective invasion-y kind of storyline. Everything has to take place in the same universe. Mm-hmm. So Max not addressing the fact that he was gone, he's back, and what happened to his buddy Tony Khan. Or he's back, he's glad what the Bucks and the Elite are doing. We get none of it. It's like it took place in a different world on a totally different show. I would have saved the promo for Dynamite. I don't need the F-bomb stuff is not edgy. No. I think he's an excellent promo without it.
Need it.
And he now feels like a bigger star than literally everything else that's going on this broadcast, including their world champion and their main event.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think another exception I took was him referring to the physical nature of Adam Cole, calling him like noodle arms and bobblehead.
Well, that was just to make Mike Lawrence happy.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. This was a total burial of like,
it's a it was
Adam Cole's dead and buried.
Yeah.
And gone. Also, weird thing. Maybe, I'm crazy here. The Undisputed Kingdom are still in the building.
Yeah.
They're literally backstage.
They were just there. They're probably in Gorilla still.
Right. Nobody comes out. No Wardlow. No Taven. No Bennett. No Strong, who is still standing. Like, nobody.
Yeah. Very strange.
This is why I get frustrated, guys. This is where I'm like, because if you're in the room, and you're pitching this stuff or you're going over the script, someone's got to be asking these questions.
Yes.
And it's where, and I see, so, all right, real quick, steamrolling through the rest of the stuff on there for the sake of time and whatever. Bang Bang Gang beat the Death Triangle. It was a fun match. It felt totally unnecessary.
Yep.
When you have such a long show, save this for Dynamite. They should have used that segment last week to set up your Dynamite main event. If you're going into Dynamite this week and you know you're getting Bang Bang Gang versus Death Triangle and the first MJF promo, ratings are going to be huge.
You're in good shape.
People have already paid for the pay-per-view. They're not suddenly going to reorder it. It's kind of weird. Trent and Orange Cassidy, I get the story you're trying to tell of the it's now down to being a wrestling match, but Trent being all strong, sad, and leaving after he loses, when we saw him essentially murder Chuck and end his career, good. We're not happy that, we're not sad that he's leaving. Like, let him be gone. He's a scumbag. Goodbye. Jericho versus Hook versus Shibata somehow was infinitely worse than I thought it was going to be. I didn't think pegging each other with dice was going to be a spot that we were going to get in 2024.
Yeah, that seems weird.
But we got it.
What do you think of Brian Keith showing up?
That was just for you, because I know how big of a Brian Keith fan you are.
I do like Brian Keith.
When he took the mask off, and my first reaction was, who the hell is that? Because he wasn't wearing the sombrero and the poncho. It was like, so what? So now he's part. So now we get another Jericho stable of guys that aren't over. Wasn't that literally just the Jericho Appreciation Society? Look what it did to elevate Angelo Dawkins and Matt Menard and Jake Hager. They're killing it. Great idea. Love it. Amazing. Just absolute grim death. Moxley Takeshita. Jesus, this show.
Save that for Dynamite too.
No, I don't care about saving it for Dynamite or not.
Well, I don't care about the Eliminator aspect of it, but if you're going to have a match like that, you didn't need this on the card either.
Dude, here's the thing. I'm getting like,
I'm fired up.
Broke my own rule.
We don't have one sponsor this week, so we're okay.
Blue Chews gets it. It's not Blue Chews. I just don't want to get flagged by YouTube, and they're like, inappropriate language. Takeshita is someone I have praised extensively on here because that is a really talented young guy who's got the Orton vibes. He's someone you can really build.
Plus, he's with Don Callis.
Plus he's with Don Callis. Plus, you just injured Moxley's arm. And it's an eliminator match, which means you get a rematch. And Moxley beats him. Who does this help? Takeshita winning against Moxley is a big win for him. Yes, it's slightly tainted because he's got the hurt arm and whatever. You can do the rematch at Forbidden Door. You can do the rematch on a Dynamite. Again, episodic TV, build ratings. Instead, Moxley beats him clean. Doesn't make Moxley look any better. I don't think anybody's super excited now about Moxley when they weren't before. But holy cow, guys. Like, let's not make this seem more challenging than it is. Toni Storm, Serena Deeb, I thought exceeded expectations in a lot of ways. I think both women were very good. I've been critical of Serena Deeb on camera because I haven't thought that her presentation has been particularly interesting. However, in the match, they put together a very hard-hitting, very physical back-and-forth match. The right person won. It was an impressive-looking finish. I'm happy about that. That's good. This is really, really good. Adam Copeland, Malachi Black. I love Edge. I'm sorry to hear that he broke his tibia. Yeah, he's going to be out of action for a while, which is really, really rough. Again, you had a barbed wire steel cage. So you gave every excuse in the world for why Copeland could have lost. Mm-hmm. You had that moment where Buddy and Brody made it seem like they were joining with him, and then they turned on him. Mm-hmm. That is good enough. 3-on-1 in a barbed wire cage, and Malachi Black wins. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
You then have Gangrel emerge from out from under the ring, and that's what helps Adam Copeland win.
Yeah.
This company that has such remarkable young talent, such new talent that you could have gotten over here. Malachi Black winning the TNT title would have meant a lot to him. It would not have meant as much to Adam Copeland that he won this, because you had every out possible to keep him viable and fresh. Right. It could have been a bloodbath. It could have been a war, and Malachi Black wins, and Copeland, they didn't know he was going to break his leg, but he could have gone away for a little while regardless, and he comes back and he's refocused and we're ready to go.
And you could have had Gangrel come from the underneath the ring after the match to save Edge from getting further attacked.
Yeah, either way. I love Gangrel, great guy, but again, now you're bringing in WWE continuity.
Oh yeah,
which is weird. It's just, to me, is weird, because then it makes you think about that. Because then it also makes you think, Dom, I don't know if you're aware of this. So Gangrel and Edge were in a group called The Brood.
Yes.
There was a third guy in that group, and he was in the very next match.
Kevin Furtag was in it.
How dare you leave Mordecai alone?
He's selling real estate.
So, yeah, he is selling real estate. He's not one of those bite clubs, but God, I'm having flashbacks to working there. Now I'm getting PTSD. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, Christian and Swerve, like, it's literally the next match.
Yeah.
When you just had Adam Copeland and Gangrel, and you can't even acknowledge it. It's just so goofy and weird. I love that match, by the way. The entrance, the Nana presentation, incredible. Great back and forth match. The right guy went over. It felt like it was a well-told war. You had the outside interference, but he was able to rebut it. Swerve wins, crowd happy. Great. Willow Nightingale, Mercedes Moné.
I was waiting for something else, but okay.
Willow is so, again, it's like, for a guy who says he studies wrestling and understands the history of wrestling and understands the importance of wrestling, and yes, we are 3 minutes over and there's 2 matches left. We're going to finish this damn thing.
We're finished.
We're going long.
Yes.
Call USA Network. Tell them don't cut out early like last night.
Oh, wow. We didn't even get to Raw at all.
We haven't even gotten to Raw. We're not going to get to Raw. We'll get to Raw. We'll be fine, guys. We got you.
We'll get
you. We got you. Willow is super over. This is like the WCW problem. All the great young talent is being used to put over other talent. You didn't put over Takeshita.
Yep.
You didn't put over Malachi Black. And I'm calling Malachi Black young. And yes, and someone's going to be like, well, he's technically 30-something. He's a younger talent to build off of. You weren't going to put Willow over. I get it. She should not have been sacrificed in this situation, because then she loses, and that whatever Mercedes Moné, that finishing move was rough, kids. That was not the way you want to beat Willow. Pick her up, do it again, do another move, do something. But Mercedes looked like she did. There was some rust there, but that's to be expected.
Yeah,
and then post-match, you do the turn on your pay-per-view. You want to maximize your audience.
Yep.
And they know that, okay, maybe they'll do whatever their buy rate's going to be. More people are going to see your television. Do the big angle on TV. Save the big angle. Have the moment where Chris Statlander turns on her, or have it where Stokely has called Willow out to the ring and he's berating her like Alpha Academy. Mm-hmm. And Chris is there. And you do the same thing. You do the same beats, but you do it on television. You don't need to put it here in the middle of a 5-hour television show where the audience is not going to absorb and remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
Vince McMahon always underestimated the audience and thought everybody was stupid. Tony overestimates the audience and thinks that they remember every minute of everything that happened. And Willow Nightingale losing should have been your beat.
That's it. Yeah.
Mercedes wins. Willow is sad. Then you do the moment on Dynamite. The story is not a bad story. It's an execution.
Yeah.
That's where the problem was. And it's like, well, am I caring about the fact that Mercedes won? Or am I caring about the fact that Chris Statlander turned on Willow? Am I caring about the fact that Stokely turned on Willow? There's so much going on.
Too much going on. Too much.
Main event. Speaking of too much.
I was saying this in the group. It reminded me of the scene in Billy Madison where they have the graduation party and the clown's on stilts and then falls down. This is what this whole match kind of reminded me of. I only saw clips of it. So
At least the clown sold the bump.
Yes.
I was having a conversation yesterday with a WWE legend. Whose name will go. I'm not going to say their name. But this individual and I were talking about this, and I said, "Did you happen to catch the AEW show?" And he's like, "I heard about it." And I go, "They did a flamethrower spot, and it wasn't the finish.
Unbelievable."
And the guy who got lit on fire
came back,
won the match. But before that, he was involved in a vehicular attempted homicide where he smashed his head against the plate glass window and was supposedly dead after hitting the other guy who was in a pile like from the Nicolas Cage movie The Wicker Man. Like they were going to sacrifice Darby with the bees at the altar. They did all the wrestling that exists in humanity in one match. It was like there was that Jimmy Fallon video where they did like the history of rap and they did everything, or the history of dance. This is where this is the hill I'm going to die on, guys.
All right.
So very talented performers in this match.
Yeah.
Inarguable.
Yeah.
They don't pick a tone. You're doing this match because Tony Khan was the head of this company, the figurehead of this place, and he was beaten up by degenerate executives. And they're going up against the AEW roster, who's trying to fight for the integrity of the company. Is that fair to say that's the story?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. How you describe it.
It starts out with this wild brawl. We're not even waiting for all the entrances. Like, this is deeply personal. Love it. Then it's, let's play music like we're at a roller rink.
Yeah.
Then Bryan Danielson, let's play our music instead. So this is a comedy match. Then you get Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson, one of the Jacksons, saying, stop playing this music because it costs so much money. So we're winking to the insider marks who know that there's music licensing rights to Final Countdown. So it's a comedy match. Got it. Then there's the brawl in the back where the dude has a spray-painted bus, which made me think of that WCW Junkyard match.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Then there's a flamethrower spot where the dude's lit on fire. He still comes back. You hang Darby Allin upside down, and then you beat Bryan Danielson with a knee.
Little bunch. It's a little.
I can't fathom it. No. For a company that believes as strongly as they do in in-ring product, in a guy who has studied war games, you know what works. If this was a serious bunkhouse stampede brawl, great. You overbook the hell out of this so much so that at one point Tony Khan gets dragged out by Jack Perry because he was supposedly beaten up in the back.
Right.
And the announcers barely even mention it. Nothing.
Yeah.
It led to the greatest video clip of all time, where Tony gets thrown down the ramp and then tries to scurry to the back.
It's like when you're a kid and you roll down a hill and you lose the momentum of rolling down a hill and you still want to roll down the hill.
Yes.
That's
exactly what this felt like.
Uh-huh.
But Tony being roughed up, bloodied, whatever, and they don't even acknowledge it. You don't have to tell 45 stories in one match.
Yeah. You don't.
Just pick an angle. You don't do goofy comedy spots. You don't need them. You didn't need to play the music. Didn't make the match any better. Didn't add any legitimate heat. it made me think this is haha, and that's fine. But and it went on and on, and it was like 30 something minutes. It was like 32 minutes long when all was said and done for this. And nothing is different at the end of the show than it was the beginning of the show.
And it's egregious that a flamethrower gets used and it doesn't end at least that person out of the match. Like, even if it doesn't end the match, and it's Jungle Boy should not be back whatsoever. He should be done.
They shouldn't have even gotten to that spot, because when they did the bus spot, that should have been it for those two. I thought we were writing those guys out. I thought maybe Darby's not fully healed. Cool. It's a way to take him out.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Then it's a 3-on-3. You can get to your finish, and then Okada can beat Danielson, and boom, oh my gosh, we're excited. We're going to finally see Okada Danielson, at the next show, and they have a storyline associated with it.
Yeah.
None of it. I don't understand who this was necessarily for, other than the self-indulgence of the Bucks.
Yeah, it's, I look at the other Anarchy in Arenas, though, with the Blackpool Combat Club, and that was fun because you had the Wild Thing music playing, and that felt fresh because that didn't happen like before. So it was like, okay, that's a neat element of it, but to kind of incorporate it on now is just like, okay, it's a little heavy-handed. You don't need it. There was a lot of stuff that was going on here, and I mean, pay-per-view main event in a vacuum, I guess it's something, but I don't know. Just not a fan of that aspect of using the flamethrower and it not ending anything.
I just wasn't
all credibility away.
I just wasn't a fan of the tone of the match. It was too much. It was a jack of all trades, master of none. Nothing looked particularly egregious. It wasn't like they really blew a major spot or anything, and they filmed it as best as they could with all the action. But if you just want to do a stunt show, do a stunt show.
Yeah.
If you want to make this feel like a serious fight, do a serious fight. And this is one of those instances where, given the gravity of the angle that has set this up, it should have been a serious fight. Yeah. So Raw, in a nutshell, very, 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 very briefly. A whole bunch of nonsense that doesn't really matter happened throughout 80% of this show. This felt like, we know it's Memorial Day and whatever. And then the biggest moment of the entire show didn't air live on the East Coast because of a timing issue, which is beyond unacceptable. I will take WWE to task for that. People want to say that I'm the WWE shill, not the AEW shill. That's beyond inexcusable. You need to get what happens on TV. The payoff of this entire show was Liv Morgan kissing Dominic Mysterio.
Right. It's huge.
The narrative through line of the entire broadcast was, what is the future of the Judgment Day going to look like? You missed that. Gunther and Priest, they got to make up their mind what they're doing with Damian Priest. You're positioning him as a babyface against Gunther. You're positioning him as a babyface against Drew, knowing that he's going to be booed like a heel at Clash at the Castle. Then you got him beating up Rey Mysterio, where he's a full-on heel going up against the top babyface they have. In all honesty, they probably should have gone with the safest option, which was go with a Rey Priest story and just beat Priest. Let that be the miscommunication of the Judgment Day or whatever. Put the title on Rey, get the title to Gunther, reset, and move on.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate to say. But we're going to dig deeper into that. We are 15 minutes over.
How about that?
This is insane. But thank you guys for sticking around with us today as I slowly seep into insanity. Dom has got a bunch of other podcasts, one of which drops now sooner than later because it's 4:20 on. Oh no, today's Tuesday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh, by the way, to the person who tweeted no rumor and innuendo yesterday, we told you on Friday.
Yes,
More day, we weren't doing it. I was floating in a pool,
begging you to watch the show.
Begging you to watch the product. Dom, plug away.
Yes, as Robert said yesterday, RVD, one of a kind with RVD dropped yesterday at 4:20 p.m. as it will every Monday. We cover Owen Hart. We cover Rob gives advice to Eddie Kingston, who's going to be out for a year. And we touch upon a lot of other stuff too. It's fun.
Wow, that would be great. Because context for that. I mean, one of Rob's hottest periods of time was when he was injured and he couldn't be used on TV, and he was still the top baby face they had.
Yeah, right. It was unbelievable. So check that out. And right now too, just at noon, what the new episode of Straight Talk with the Boss, Greg Gagne, Magnum TA, it dropped, and we cover the Agile Big Men. So we cover Vader, we cover Bam Bam Bigelow, we cover Jerry Blackwell, and plenty more. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. It's available on 4horsemanetwork.com, and you can check out Rob Van Dam, rvdtv.com. Be sure to like, subscribe, share it out, get the word out. Got some fun stuff cooking. Robert, Working Stiff was a good one. Best Patreon I've ever heard, I think, was this week.
Oh man, yeah. So the Patreon we did was we broke down King and Queen of the Ring right after it happened. It was a blast. This week for the main show, wherever you get your podcast, that's going to be myself, Dan St. Germain, Scott Chaplin, and potentially Mike Lawrence if he's around, talking this Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And if you thought my reactions here were slightly strong, wait until two things happen. Number one, where I'm allowed to use all of the words of my vocabulary, including a lot of the four-letter ones. And number two, when my good close personal friend, Mr. Scott Chaplin, tries to defend some of this and tells me that I'm an idiot. A mark. That's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. But this was a heck of a lot of fun. I did not see us going 47 minutes. No. But we like Anarchy in the Arena. We went a little long, but we're not playing any music. We're not allowed to. Though I do like that you're playing Mountain Goats. Hey, plug that on our show. I'm a big fan of the Mountain Goats. They're a hell of a band. I'm a big fan of Mr. Dominic D'Angelo. So on behalf of you wearing your Pittsburgh Pirates hat today?
Yes, I am.
Pick a damn team. On behalf of Pirates great Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Let's go, Willie Stargell. Pops.